Hi, I'm Greg Davenport of Greg Davenport Disaster Management. I am a firm believer in service through medicine focused on global disaster response in medical and disaster settings, and it is an honor to be here and to have you as my guest. My goal is to promote humanitarian service that also focuses on keeping you and your team alive and those you serve alive while you provide humanitarian care in remote and austere settings, otherwise known as global health, or in locations where a major disaster just occurred. In both scenarios, you are often isolated and have extremely limited medical and survival gear. It took me years to get here. I started in 1982 as an active duty combat casualty care specialist, where I taught people how to keep self and team alive while also providing medical care near frontline combat. From there, I cross-trained or changed jobs and became a survival, evasion, resistance, and escape and recovery specialist, teaching aircrew members how to prepare for a mission, egress an aircraft, and survive in remote areas under harsh conditions and with extremely limited gear during combat and non-combat scenarios. After 9 years, I left the military and attended physician assistant school, and upon graduation, I began providing medical care in underserved areas and populations. These three paths, being a combat medic, SEER specialist, and physician assistant, led me to a long history of volunteerism. As a medical volunteer, I responded to global health settings, including multiple trips to the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and Mexico. And as a disaster setting volunteer, I traveled to Vanuatu after a major cyclone demolished the islands. The island I went to was fairly remote, and the only way you could get there was by helicopter or a 4 to 6 seat airplane. I went to Nepal after a major 7.8 earthquake hit, and we were dropped off by a helicopter that told us they were not coming back to get us. You can imagine our alarm as we were in an extremely remote and isolated area, taking care of individuals who basically had no medical care whatsoever, and now we had to figure out a way to get back home. I traveled to Haiti after the great earthquakes. I was there during great political unrest, and that created a whole new scenario on how our team was to keep or stay alive and to get back home. I also went to Mosul, Iraq during the liberation from ISIS and was in the frontline arena of combat taking care of civilians who were caught in that fighting. One thing I discovered during many of these trips, the medical volunteers knew medicine, but they weren't prepared for the harsh reality of a setting with no support. No MRI machine, no blood work, no ultrasound, no respiratory techs, no nurses, and so on. And most responders had no idea how to pack or what the survival essentials of life were. Often they arrived with suitcases that were on rollers when we were expected to hike from village to village. Often they came with clothing that was inadequate or a tent that couldn't withstand the winds of the location we were in. They rarely brought supplies to treat their water or deal with personal medical issues that might arise. There's so much more, but I think you get my point. And that brings me to today. I've had boots on ground as an educator, medical professional, humanitarian, and survival expert for 40 years. I think it's time to discuss what I have learned, and in the process promote service through medicine with a focus on keeping self and team alive in the process.